Okay, can you hear me? Shita and Victoria, can you hear me well? Okay, that's good. That's good. So I'll check the classroom and our outline. Let's see what we are supposed to briefly touch today. So the video for yesterday is ready, but I'm yet to push that. It's yet to push that. I'll do so today, together with today's video. Okay. So yesterday we did a brief introduction into media query and how to use it. Then we looked at media query. Then we looked at some pages that we can make responsive. We looked at that, and that was that. So today I would look at Bootstrap. We would move into Bootstrap today. Yeah. Um, Media queries, like I really explained, is just the same way you write your normal CSS. The only difference is that you give a condition. So I don't need to go in depth into explaining how to do media queries, because I believe by now we know how to do CSS, so use CSS well. So it's just putting in the conditions based on the width of the device, if you are using width, or based on whatever conditions you are setting for the device you are targeting, and you just put in your CSS. That is just it for media queries. So I'm supposed to drop video for yesterday's class, and I'm supposed to drop video for the marathon part 3. So I would use the remaining pages I'm supposed to create for the marathon to better explain responsiveness, so at least you see it in action there and then. So I don't want it to push us back, so that's why I'm going to move into JavaScript, and I'll just cover that in the video. So I'll drop that video, the part 3, this week. I'll drop it this week. So that's that. So we'll be looking at Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is it's a framework. It's a framework. Okay, this is the third month and we have made considerable progress. We've been able to know how to use HTML and CSS well. And say for example you are creating a site like this. Let me show us an example, a site example. Now if you are creating a site like this, hold on, this is ClickUp. Sorry, let me open this in an incognito window. Can you still see my screen? I'm signed into ClickUp, so it's redirecting me. Can you still see my screen? Okay, cool. So this is ClickUp. So say you are to create something as pretty as this, and then you have to code from scratch. It's going to be stressful, because you see this page has lots of designs, lots of events, lots of things. You click on this, it opens up this, and if you are to code everything here from scratch, it's going to take you a whole lot of time. By coding from scratch, I mean you're writing your CSS by yourself, like you are just coding everything as you see the design. As much as it's okay, for effectiveness, it's better you make use of frameworks that already have predefined styles than what you are just doing is editing it. So there are different frameworks that different developers use, but for starters we are going to look at Bootstrap. So the more you progress in programming, you learn about other frameworks that makes your work easier. This site ClickUp made use of a framework, because if you look at all of this, this is a whole lot, And this framework that they use, they could have also created their own framework too, that has their own styles, because if you notice they have their own colors. So you know, okay, if you're calling a class, it's picking this color and this and that. So there are people, or there are services that have already created frameworks that make your work easy. So gone are the days when as a developer you'd have to do lots of your things from scratch. Backend is tasking, it takes a lot of effort, but front end takes a whole lot of time to create, because your UI has to be perfect if you're someone that has OCD for designs. So front end takes a lot of time. So coding from scratch, no, it's not really advisable. It's not really advisable. It takes lots of your time, except if the client is paying you a whole lot of money for that. You can go the extra mile. Or if you're working with a team, you know, okay, you've divided the pages. But if you're creating a site like this, say you're giving this job to create a whole ClickUp where you have different pages like this, I would not recommend you code from scratch. That being said, we'll look at one of the simplest frameworks that one can use as a beginner, and that framework is called Bootstrap. So I don't know if you've heard of Bootstrap, but Bootstrap came from Twitter. So it came from Twitter, and that was because as I when Twitter came out very very responsive. Twitter is the owner of this whole stuff you see here. So Twitter came out very responsive. When you go to Twitter, let me show you this. So when you go to Twitter, uh, it is very responsive. I'd have to log in. How do I? Okay, fine. You'd see how responsive Twitter is, even down to the columns. It's so responsive that each section is perfectly aligned and perfectly measured. So this section is measured perfectly, this section is measured perfectly. This was the selling point for Twitter. So Twitter created the framework to use for their app, Twitter. So they called it Bootstrap, and so people used it, and it became open source, so other people could use it. So you notice the selling point, like I said, is the columns. So they are the ones that brought about this column thingy. Later on, we now had things like flex and how to break it down with your normal CSS. But Bootstrap has predefined styles that if you want to create this thing like this in a matter of minutes, you can create this with Bootstrap. So that being said, we look at how to use Bootstrap today. Okay, so I'm going to like show us the power of Bootstrap now. So if you go to Bootstrap, you can search for Bootstrap on Google and then you see this, but the official site for Twitter is getbootstrap.com. Now there are different versions of Bootstrap, there are different releases. You check here, you see there are different releases. So over the years they've created different versions of Bootstrap. So I would recommend you make use of the latest version, and also bear in mind that when these frameworks come up with new versions, some things are changed and some things are modified. So you'd have to keep up to know which things have been changed. So over the years we've had this. When I started programming, I think we were in 3.3, and now we are in 5.0. This is the latest one. So it depends on the one you want to use. Okay, so I am going to make use of this 5 point something came out recently, and I'm not a fan of it. This stuff gave me issues yesterday. I was trying to create a site yesterday, and I spent hours trying to understand how this 5.1 is in beta mode, beta 3. So I honestly am not a fan, so I'm going to go to version 4.6. Okay, so this is 4.6. Okay, so Bootstrap gives you a rundown of how to use it. So there are different things you can use Bootstrap to do, and I'm going to show us how we can use Bootstrap. So I'm going to open up Git Bash now, and okay, so I am going to open up my, let's see if we can see this better. I'm going to open up the project file we are working with, Marathon. or better still, let me create a new folder, then we can look at how to use git bash again to push to the live server, not to live server, to GitHub. So I'm going to make a directory, a new folder, and I'm going to call it bootstrap testing, or let's call this bootstrap introduction. So I'll create this, and when I type in ls, you would see bootstrap. Where bootstrap, where are you? Okay, bootstrap introduction is here, so this is it here. So I'll just cd bootstrap, then introduction. Okay, so that takes me inside. So let me clear this. Okay, so I'm in the folder. I can type code space full stop. It's going to open up VS Code for me. Okay, that being said, I'm going to create a simple file here. So I'll create a simple file here, and I'll call it index.html. So inside index.html that I have here, I want to make sure that this is linked to my GitHub. So this is my GitHub account here. Okay, this is my GitHub account. So here I can come down to this button and click on new repository to create a new repository for me. Then I'll call the repository bootstrap introduction. Let's give it the same name. So the name is available. I'm going to make it public, meaning anyone can come and see it, including you. Then once that's done, then I'll click on, you can choose to add a readme file if you want to, but then just click on create repository. So it creates the repository for me, and I just need to connect it from my command line. So to connect it from my command line, there are different ways to do that. So first off, I need to make use of this git init. So what git init does is initializes the repo, like this particular folder. I call it repo because that is my local repository, but here is my online repository. So this is the local repository. So I'll just type in git init. That way it is initializing this, is allowing Git to recognize that something is going to enter here, something that has to do with Git is entering here. So I'm going to initialize it, git init. So it tells me it's been initialized. Then the next thing I need to do is, I don't want to add a readme.md. All I just need to do is, so they are telling me to add all of this, but I am going to have an issue if I try this. I should have an issue anyways. So I'll paste this in, and it's not going to go because it's asking me to commit what I have not added. So the way GitHub works, you are adding something to be pushed. So when you add, you commit, and then you push. So it's 3 steps. You add your files, you commit it, and then you push. So I can't commit if I have not added. So I just need to type in git add, git space add. Then the full stop means it adds everything. If I type in git status shows me all of the files I have edited or everything I've worked on. So here it shows me I have untracked files, which is index.html, which is what I created. So GitHub is that cool. It keeps track of every change you make. So here they are telling me to use git add, then the file name, to include what will be committed. But the issue with this is, if you've been working for some time and then you have up to 16 files, you can't be manually typing in the names of the file. Hence why I make use of git add space full stop. So that way it adds everything that I have made changes to. So I'm adding it to be staged, to be pushed. So I'll just then do git commit. I can run git commit, then I can run this command that I picked from GitHub. So So I can just type it in here. Let me just paste it. So I'll paste it here. Oh, sorry, I need to copy that again. Copy, then I need to paste this. Then you see it has committed it. Then the next thing they're telling me to do now is to do this to create a branch, a main branch. So I'll just come here again and paste it. It creates the branch for me. Now you see that it has changed it from being master to main. So that's what it has done. It changes the branch from being master to main. This command you see here. So the main branch is main. Then the next thing is to add this. So what this line is doing is linking this online repository I created here to the local one. So I just come in here and put paste and run, and it adds it. And when I run git push this command here, once I run it, it's going to make the first push for me, and automatically it gets pushed to GitHub. So you see GitHub works. It works with your data anyway, so you need to make sure you have your data. So if I refresh this, now you see that what I just did entered. I hope this makes understanding GitHub better. Okay, cool. So that is that. Then okay, so now we've pushed this, so now we can go to working on the file itself. So GitHub gives us a boilerplate we can use, like a boilerplate, I mean a template. So the same way you link Font Awesome, I explained that in a marathon video, you can link Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is hosted somewhere on their own server, so you can choose to download Bootstrap. There's an option to download here, but I don't like downloading it. Other people like downloading it in their projects, but is whichever one that works for you. So you can choose to download Bootstrap. That way you are just calling the same way you call your normal CSS and JavaScript, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to copy it. There are different ways to copy Bootstrap. You can copy it as a bundle, or you can copy it separately. Okay, so this is the starter template that I'm going to copy. So this is what I was talking about, the boilerplate. So copy this and come here, and when you paste it here, you see that what it added for me is the style sheet. That is the CSS, Bootstrap CSS. You see it here is minified. That's why you see min.css. Let me explain what minified means. So when you write your CSS, by default it's not minified, but you see that this their CSS here is minified. Minified means there is no spacing. They removed all the spacing, so it makes it smaller, and because of it is smaller, it means it will not take up much space. So say your CSS file is very huge, and it might take, because depending on the server you are using, so you want your files to be as lightweight as possible. That's why most of these frameworks, when they create it, they make use of, they will give you the option to have it as a normal file, then they will give you the minified version. So most at times it's the minified version that people use. So come back here. So this is the minified CSS, this is the minified JavaScript. So these are the options. This is as a bundle, this is as separate. So I'm not going to pick it as a bundle, call me old school, but I'm going to pick it this way. So here I have this, then I have to uncomment this because they commented this part out. So do this, I comment it, and I have this. So it adds jQuery. I don't know if anyone has heard of jQuery, but jQuery is much later anyways. We'll not touch jQuery during this program. So this is jQuery, this is Popper, this is Bootstrap. So the main things we need is Bootstrap CSS and Bootstrap JavaScript. So this is what is going to work the magic for us. So if I come to this page, I'm going to come here and run it. So in my folder here where I have Bootstrap introduction, I'll open this, so I'll see what I have here. So I should have this hello world. Okay, hello world. Now you would see that even down to the styling of the text, it has changed. I'm going to explain. So you see here that H1 already has a defined font size, margin bottom, font weight, line height, even down to the font family. It makes use of Noto. So you'd see, okay, Sego UI, sorry, Sego UI. So you'd see that Bootstrap comes with lots of things. And if I come to sources, I come here to cds.jsdeliver.net, because that is where this is picked from, just so you see. This is where it's picked from. So your dev tools keeps track of the files you are referencing, and you can see it in the sources panel. So here is the sources, so this is it. You see that even down to, it adds the JavaScript for you. Everything has been added on the fly for you automatically. If you want to create buttons, if you want to create carousels, alerts, popovers, toast, lots of things, Bootstrap comes with it. So you don't need to have to stress yourself with coding it. Okay, so this is like one of the cool things that, okay, Victoria says she can't see my screen. Shaitan, can you see my screen? Victoria, I think it's your internet connection. Please, can you see it now, or you'd have to join the class again? Okay, cool. Let's wait for her to join in so she doesn't miss out. Let's hold on for some more time for her to join in. Okay, it's taking time, so let's just move on. So okay, so we have this. So we've taken the starter template. Okay, so I was trying to explain something. So I said, let me create a file. I'll call this raw.html. Now inside raw.html, I would have my normal HTML5 startup boiler template that comes with VS Code. Then I'll just type in hello world. Yeah, hello world. That is the same text that I have here in Bootstrap. Yeah, hello world. Okay, sorry, H1, right? H1. Let's do this. H1 too. Then to open up this file, I'll come here, raw.html. Now you see the way this looks, and you see how this looks. This looks better because Bootstrap has already styled it for me, even down to the font. You can choose to change the font if you'd want to the font that you prefer, but you see that Bootstrap makes your work easy, even down to the spacing I was talking about. You need to add the wildcard of giving it. Bootstrap does everything for you. So Bootstrap doesn't do everything for you anyways. There are some things you need to add, but the basics, so you don't have to start coding from scratch. It does that for you. So that's that on that. So the next one we are going to check is how to use some of the stuffs there. Let's see. So it comes with let's see, the viewport. Okay, it explains it. So you see, it explains that Bootstrap is developed mobile first, so they optimize code for mobile devices first and then scale up when necessary, making use of media queries. So you would see that Bootstrap makes use of the media queries already for you, and lots of that and that and that. So we'll come to some basic ones we can use. Let's click on some basic things we can use. So this is just a component of the files when you reference CSS and JavaScript of Bootstrap. These are the things that come with it. So let's do this. Okay, so we're just not going to check. You can read this up on your own in your spare time, but let's look at this. Let me look for. Okay, so we'll go to components so you can see some things you can do with components. There's an option here for examples. Anyways, you can check it out. Examples. So there are different examples that Bootstrap provides. Lots of examples. For example, let's take this sign in. Let's take the sign in for example. So this sign in here, this is like the page for this sign in, and you can get exactly this if you copy the CSS. You can download it, the source codes and all of that, but anyways, this is what we're going to be looking at. So let's look at nav bars. So nav bars are like stuffs you see on the site. When you go to a site, you see this header section. Like this header section you see here it's a nav bar. So we'll look at the nav bars that Bootstrap provides and how to use them. Victoria has still not joined. Yes. With Bootstrap, wildcard isn't needed. It covers that for you. So this is the nav bar. So I'm just going to copy this. So you see, it allows you to copy. So I'll just copy this, and now you see what is going to happen when I copy this. So here I have this copied. Okay, I copied this, and I'll just paste it inside here. Okay, so I'm just pasting it there, and automatically you'd see that this gives me oh, I added it to raw.html, my bad. So here, and and you see that when I refresh, automatically I have a nav bar that has drop downs. I have where I can search, which is cool. You can change it to the logo if you want. So this is like the cool things it helps you do. And you notice that when this goes to mobile, you see what happens. It's responsive. You click on this, you see your nav bar. So this is something that if you want to code this on your own from scratch, it's going to take you hours to code, but Bootstrap gives it to you out of the box. Hence why, for starters, you need to learn how to make use of frameworks, and the beginner one you need to learn how to use well is Bootstrap. So that's that. So there are different types of nav bars it gives you. So when you come to the official site, you'd check the design you are working with and which of the components can give you what you want. Okay, so here, if I don't want to have search bar, I can use this one. Which other ones again? There are different things you can do with this. You can even change the color. So let's just copy this. So if you give it a class of BG dark, so here you don't even have to start coding your colors. Automatically Bootstrap has worked on the colors for you. To explain better, you see here, you see down here, colors are added. Different colors: blue, indigo, purple, pink, red. Lots of colors are added. Now here we're told to add the class of BG dark. So learning Bootstrap also means learning the classes. So the same way you learn CSS styles, the same way if you're using Bootstrap, you need to learn some classes so you know how you are working with it. So if I add this nav bar dark, this is a predefined style. Just look at Bootstrap as the same way you normally code your CSS, and then you are calling a class. But in this case, Bootstrap has already created classes for you, so you just need to know the class to call to give you a particular style. That's just it. So here, what the image is of is navbar light, BG light. That's why the color is light. So if I change it to navbar dark and BG dark, what is going to happen is it becomes dark. So this is the pretty cool thing you can do with Bootstrap. That's that on that. Then so there is dark, makes it black. Primary makes it blue. You can add your own custom one if you want. Then we have containers. So this is what container does for you. So if I wrap, I'm going to create another one on top of here. I'm just pasting this here. Now if I wrap it in a container, it gives me space. Now you see there is space here. So in case you want to create something that you need to have equal space, the container class can give you that equal space. So instead of you to start using margin auto and giving it a width, Bootstrap does that for you, and it is responsive too on mobile. So here, if I come here, you'd see the container, you'd see the margin auto has been given the max width, even down to the media query, which you see here. The media query, everything has been added here for you. So that's the cool thing about Bootstrap. The very cool thing about Bootstrap. That's that on that. So which other ones? If you want it to be sticky, so that even if you are scrolling up or down, it remains there, there is a class for that, sticky top. So I'll just advise you just check it out yourself and you know which one you want to work with. So we'll be using Bootstrap to create some projects starting next week. So next week we'll be looking at creating live projects. So we'll look at creating a full site from scratch. Not exactly from scratch, using Bootstrap. We'll look at doing that using Bootstrap. And so yeah, so that is that on that. Okay, so let's look at some other things we can do. So let's look at forms. Okay, there are forms. Then let's look at carousel. Then we can look at cards. Okay, let's look at spinners. Progress. Okay, so this is form. So if you want to create a form with Bootstrap, it's pretty easy for you to create it with Bootstrap. So if I want to, instead of me to go through the stress of creating the forms and everything myself, I can just use Bootstrap and just edit it later on. So here, okay, so I have my navbar already here. So let me just paste this one under here. So I have this, and when I come here and I refresh, now you see that it has added it for me, but it's too wide, so I'm going to have to wrap it in a container. So remember the container class I spoke about in Bootstrap. So if I just type in div and I give it a class of container, okay, and I do this, let me see, I hope I am still recording. Okay, so when I refresh this, you see it has styled it for me. Even if I want to give it space at the top, so there are different classes I can use. There is empty. Empty stands for margin top with Bootstrap. So I can say empty3. There is 1, 2, 3, 4. There is empty2. There's empty3. There's empty4. I'm going to use empty. It's going to give me margin top, which you see has added space for me at the top. So if I come here, you see empty gave me a margin top of 1.5 rem. Okay, so you want to see more of this anyways, yeah, you just need to check out the documentation. So these are like the basic ones that you need in your day-to-day coding, so you don't have to start typing your margin top, margin bottom, padding right. So empty margin top, MB margin bottom, ML margin left, MR margin right. So you can use that to easily remember it. PR padding right, PL padding left, and all of that. So this is like a simple what's it called, this is like a simple form that Bootstrap can give to you on the fly. That being said, we can have another form here that has select select option, text area. It styles it for you, and how it styles it for you is via this class. Okay, so if you come to inspect, you'll notice that all the inputs, let's zoom in, all the inputs here has a class of form control. So form control, this you see here that it has styling already given to it. The moment I remove the class of form control, it goes back to being a normal form that you see by default. So form control is the class that Bootstrap uses to make your is the CSS, or this class it uses to make it look like a cool input box. Even if you come here, you'd see even down to the select, it has form control. Which other one? The text area also has form control. So if you have an input field, I want it to look not generic, you give it a class of form control. And even down to the inputs, you can do this. Then clicking on this is going to open up your inputs for you. Then you can select your files and all of that. Then if you want to make it big, you have form control LG. So if I want to make this bigger, LG stands for large in Bootstrap. So LG, you see it makes it bigger. So it's just choice on your part. So you choose, oh sorry, I made a mistake there, form control and then form control LG. Yeah, so it makes it bigger. So that's that on that for forms. That's basically that for forms. Range input, it gives you that. So there are lots of things, I can't touch all of them at once, but there are lots of things it gives you on the fly. Let's do this can be like a simple, say you have a checkout system and you want to create something for a checkout system, you can have this. So we'll come back and give it a margin top of 4. So we can come here and say class mt4, you save and then you run, and you see it gives you what you want. So you can have your password, you type it in password, you type in your email address, you type in your address, and lots of things it gives you. You choose your states, you write your, so this is what Bootstrap can give you on the fly. That's being said, what else? So like I said, you can check that out, the rest of them yourself. Let's look at carousels. So carousels, you know when you go to a site, you see carousels, you can replace it with images and all of that. So Bootstrap can give this to you. Sorry. So Bootstrap can give this to you on the go. Okay, so I am going to do this. So there are different kinds of carousels it can give you. So it depends on the one you are trying to achieve, on what you are trying to achieve. Okay, so there is this site I worked on, let me show you, tabmetrics.io. Now this site that you see here, everything that you see here on this site is purely Bootstrap. Even down to this is Bootstrap. It's not live yet anyways, but everything you see here down to this, how this looks, everything here is Bootstrap. So this, I just wanted to show us this because this is a carousel. So this is like a carousel and stuff. So Bootstrap here allows you to add carousels with controls. So you click on this, it changes, you click on this, it changes. There is the other option for you to add this indicators at the bottom if you'd like. Depends on the UI you're working with. If you want it to have text underneath, that can also work for you too. Which is this. So instead of it to slide, it to transit, you can use that. So it fades in and fades out, and this one you don't need to You can click, but it moves on its own. And yep, so there are different ones you can do. So I'll just pick this. Yeah, so let me just pick this first one here, this one here, this one. So I'll pick this, but you'll notice that it's not going to show anything. So I'll just come here and refresh. It's not going to show anything because there is no image. We did not link. It gave us this blank. So I'll just come online and let me look for a movie. I love Avengers anyways, so I can just check for Avengers Endgame movie posters. So let's see if I can have very cool images I can use. This site looks horrible. I have clear pictures anyways. Open image in new tab is the image I need. Open image in a new tab. I need the image. Oh wow, these are very clear images. Open image in a new tab, and I'll just copy this. So I'll copy this, the link to this image, and I'll put it here. So I'll put this here to run the first image. The second image, I'll put this here to run. That's the second image. I'm not adding alts yet, so the alts can come in later. So add this and do this. Okay, so when I come here to run this page, now what you see is the poster comes up as it should. And when you slide, it shows. Let's give it a padding top, please. Sorry, margin top. So let's give it a margin top of 5. I think there should be empty 5 here. That way there's spacing at the top. So if someone comes here on mobile, you can have something that looks cool. So you have something like this that looks pretty cool, and this is made in just minutes. So say you want to have a movie site, you can just have, okay, this is the image and this is the movie, so you can book and just put in your details. So something simple like this can work. If you have any questions, please ask. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask. I love these images. Okay, Shaitan, ask. While Shaitan is asking, Victoria, you can type yours too, so I'll answer them. So while I'm waiting for Shaitan and Victoria's questions, which CSS file? Do you mean your CSS file? It all depends on you. Bootstrap is just an added flavor, so you can add your own if you want to add. So you can add your own, it doesn't affect it. You can add your own. You can use your own to override some things to make yours look finer. I think I've answered your question. So Victoria, I'm waiting for your question. So we've looked at carousels. Let's look at cards. So cards is what you mostly see in sites, especially on blogs. So when you go to a blog, you'd see cards. Okay, and most of these cards, they are built using Bootstrap. So most of the cards are built using Bootstrap. So let's look at some cards we can make. So let's see if there's any fine one I can choose. Okay, let's start from the beginning. So here, let me pick this one that has the image and the text underneath. So I can just come here, copy, and here. So I can have this. This is a card. Then the image SRC. Let me pick the image SRC. Let it be one of these images I've picked here. and I paste this and I run. I would have to comment this out so it doesn't conflict. Instead of commenting, I'll create a new file and just paste this in. So when I save and I run this page, what I'm going to see is this. So this is like a pretty card. Okay, hold on. So this is like a pretty card, lorem ipsum. So this is a pretty card. Let's give this a margin top of 5. So this is a pretty card I will have here. Yeah, you can even make it to have rounded corners. Bootstrap allows you to have that. There is a cool thing Bootstrap does for that. Let's check for that. So if you want it to have you search for border. Yeah, so you can see border radius here. Exactly. So if you want it to have I'll come to your question, Victoria, so just hold on. So if you want it to have rounded corners, you can pick this one here, rounded. So here, if I add rounded to this, now automatically you'd see that this becomes rounded. I don't know if you noticed, it has rounded edges. Yeah, it has rounded edges. That's that. Let's look at rounded peel. Let's see if this will work better if we use rounded peel. Okay, so here, this is the file. It made it 2, so let's go back, leave it at rounded. And if you want to remove the border, if we don't want it to have the border, you can give it border 0. So if we don't want it to have the border, we can give it border 0. So border 0. For those just joining us, we've moved to using Bootstrap, so you have to watch the video recording for today to understand what we did, because this is over an hour and going back is just not it for me. So yeah, so I just removed the border using border 0. Then if I want to give it a shadow, Bootstrap allows me, so you can just search. So shadows, it gives shadows. So if I want a small shadow, I can just put shadow SM. Then if I put it in here, you'd see that automatically this card has a shadow. So I was explaining what Bootstrap is. So you see it has a shadow. I was explaining what Bootstrap is, that Bootstrap is a framework, like a CSS framework. Not really CSS, it's more than CSS, but it's a framework that allows you to run most of your codes on the fly. So instead of you to start creating your stylings from scratch, Bootstrap can allow you to just copy and paste, and then it comes with the whole stylings for you. I explained that. That's how Bootstrap works. So I just had to copy some things and pasted, and it worked for me. So I can't really go back to explain like I said, but I believe you watch the video, you understand. So you said we should avoid using inline styling. Does Bootstrap only allow inline styling? No. If you want to use your CSS file, you can use your normal CSS file. Just put your normal link, how you link your file. So you link your CSS file. Say I create a new CSS called style.css. It's just the same way you link it. It doesn't affect it. So you can just have your style.css here. And if I want to change the font, okay, so let's say I want to just change the font. So I can come to Google Fonts. So inside here, I'm just going to pick a very stylish one. So let me see if I can pick it. So let me pick item. Okay, so I'll select one and then I'll just link it here. So I'll copy this and paste it here. Let's put it on top. So let's paste it here. So I just linked the CSS, sorry, the font for item. Now to use it, it tells me to use it this way, so I'll just copy this. Now if I come here in style.css and I say body should have this styling, okay, and I give it importance just so that it's going to override the one for Bootstrap, and I come here, you'd see that it has changed. So the same way you use your normal CSS, the same way you are going to link it. Doesn't affect it. It doesn't at all. So you see the body, what is picking is your CSS. So Bootstrap is just a helper. No problem. Comfort. I think she has left. You're welcome. So Bootstrap is just a helper. So it's a helper for you. You can still add your own custom CSS. It's just a helper. It's just to save you time. That's just what Bootstrap does. It saves you time. So that is that on that. What else can we have? Spinner. So if you want to have a spinner, Bootstrap can give you a spinner. So I will just copy this, click on copy, and when I come here at the top, let me remove this. Better still, let me add a spinner inside this button. So instead of you to see sign in, you see a spinner. Okay, so if I refresh this page, now what you see here is a spinner. This is what you see here is a spinner. So instead of you to go through the stress of having to create, let me remove this card. Instead of you to go through the stress of having to create your own spinner yourself, Bootstrap can give it to you. So you just need to allow frameworks help you. We have spinner. You can change the color however one you want. If you want it to grow, you can make it to grow. So you can have this one and just paste this. So we are coming to the end of this mentorship program. I'm going to advise that you watch the videos again, and if you have questions, ask. Okay, like this could be like the last chance for us to ask questions before the next band starts. So if you have questions, you need to ask before this month ends. So watch the videos and watch it again and make sure you understand. So that's for spinners. What else? About drop down. How can we do it? Okay, there is drop down. Let's see drop down. So let's search for drop down. So you search for drop down. Okay. So this is the drop down button that Bootstrap can give you. So let's say I want a primary drop down. So I can copy this. Okay, copy this and I'll paste it here. Okay, so what happens is if I refresh here, I'll see the drop down. So you just go to Bootstrap, check what you are trying to do, check what components or what design you're trying to create. If Bootstrap has it, just copy and paste it, then edit it, because you can't, in case what you want to do does not need all this text, so you need to edit it. And so that's just it. So you know, so you're not just copying and pasting, you are understanding. Would we be able to join the next band? Say for sure, you can join for intermediate classes, sure. From the front end mentor assignment you gave us, which one is that? Is there one that has to do with the drop down? Which particular one is that? Oh, is it for the one that has the image of the cartoon girl, Victoria? Oh, that is called an accordion. That is not a drop down, it's called an accordion. So in accordion, this is an accordion. So that is just what that stuff was doing. So it's an accordion. It's part of the reason I was saying not to copy and paste anyways, because they made use of JavaScript. So is an accordion. Let me see what just happened. Okay, yeah, this is it, accordion. So if I copy this, so this is just copy paste, then you'd add your styling to give you the same feel that that page had, but it's basically an accordion. So here you copy, you see it here, shows this, so you can change this text here, edit it to whatever text you want, change this here to whatever you want, change it, then change the background, change the color, however way you want to do it. I hope that answers your question. So it's called an accordion. That's that. Then we have progress bars. So if you want to have a progress bar on your site, you can have a progress bar. So somebody is trying to upload something, you can have a progress bar. Someone is even trying to read a blog on your site, you can have a progress bar. So say this, for example. So this is how progress bars work. Let's copy this. So progress bar 25% width. So refreshing this will give me the progress bar, which is nice. If I want to change the color, because right now is this is what is peaking, so I can change the color if I want. So Bootstrap says for me to change the color, you need to use BG. So there is BG success is green, success info is blue, warning is yellow, danger is red. So if I want it to be red, I can say BG danger. So this gives me this BG danger, and if I refresh this, what I'm going to see is, yeah, danger. If I want to move it from 25%, I can come here and change the width here, it becomes 50%, and change it here to 50. So then change the text here to 50. That way is going to pick 50% width. So you see, this is like the cool things you can do with Bootstrap. I just hope we're seeing this, we see that Bootstrap is pretty awesome. There are other frameworks that are more awesome than this though, but this is like that. There's media objects, then there is modal. This is my best. I love using modals a lot. There's modal. Which other one can we check again? There are lots of ones you can use. And this is media objects. Most times you use it for, say, a comment section in a site. Somebody is commenting, you can have the user image here, the username, and then the text, the text or whatever the user commented. So you can have that. You paste it here. I'm just going to pick this one of these images I have here. So copy this and I put it here. Then I change this to my name. I make this to be my name. So this is, let's just put it as this is the text I just made. So if I come and I do this, this image is too big. Let me use a very small image, please. So let me pick someone's image. Let me pick Shaiton's image. So let me pick her image. Since hers I know it's small, let's see how I can tweak that. Pretty. Let's see. This is the section. Okay. This is this. This is this. You'd see that their own stylings, even down to the classes they give, theirs is different. So different frameworks have their, or different systems have their their way of coding. So I'm trying to get the image. Let me see if I can get it. If I can't, I will just move on. Okay, so this is the image. So I'll open it in a new tab, and this is Shaitan's image. So I will paste the image in here. So pasting the image in here should give me this. Yeah, it should give me this. This is like a simple section you can have. You give it your margin top MT5. So spacing at the top, choose text, give it rounded if you want to make it rounded. So you can give it a class of rounded. So you can say rounded, and it's rounded. You can give it shadow if you want, and all of that. So that's one of the cool things you can do with that. That's that. Yeah, that's that on that. That is that on that for the media card. Then we have one, we've done media card. Let's look at modals. So this is how modals work. Okay, so when you click on it, it shows you this pop-up box. So I'm sure you've seen it in sites where you go to, you see something pop up when you click on a button. So what makes it do that? Comfort. Your mic. Okay, so we have the modal. So at times you go to a site, you'd see this modal pop up. So this is it. This is what works for it. Modal. If you want it to be scrollable, so you want to show lots of text, you can do this. So if you want to be vertically centered, you can make it centered. So it's just editing anyways, just editing. So I am going to choose a simple one. So I'll just copy this, and I'll paste it here. Okay, so this is the button. So let me just put the button here. So let's give the text, let's make it to be show me. So save and run. Now you see show me. When you click on this, it shows you your modal box, which is nice. You can close it if you want to do this, save changes if you want, do something when you want to do something, and that and that and that. So that's for modals. What else do we have? So there are lots of things, even down to paginations, even down to tables. You can give it for tables. Let me check utilities. see what we can get in utilities. Check extend. So this is pagination. So if you have a blog you are creating, you want to add pagination, Bootstrap can give you pagination. So if you add it here to the bottom, for example, and you refresh, you see your pagination. Let's make this center, so I'll wrap this in a div, give it a class. So Bootstrap has a class of text center. It aligns its center for you. Then you paste this. Then let me give it a margin top too, so it doesn't look joined together. So if I refresh this, it didn't take it to the center. Let's check why. Let's check why it didn't take it to the center. Text center, it's supposed to align its center. Okay, because of this one is already taking 100% width. So if I add the text center to this, still didn't work. Okay, this is display flex. It has display flex. So if we say justify content center, it centers it. So yeah, so you see that your knowledge of basic CSS comes into play with Bootstrap. So even though it gives you some stuffs on the fly, some other things you need to tweak, you tweak it. That's why I would recommend you learn things from scratch first before you move to learning frameworks. We could have learned Bootstrap from the beginning, but no, because you've learned CSS already, it's better. It's even easier for you to understand how Bootstrap works. This is that, and that. So that one is there. We have for tables. Let's check for tables. So we have for tables. So Bootstrap can give you tables, colors of tables. It can give you lots of things on the fly. So you choose the one you want to do. It can give you when you hover. You see, when you hover, it goes. So these are like the things Bootstrap can give you on the fly. So you choose. They are pretty basic, so it's you that will make your own look better. They are just pretty basic. Here, you see here in ClickUp, here, this can be gotten with Bootstrap. When you hover, it comes down. Bootstrap can give you this. Bootstrap can give you all of this. This one can be a button in Bootstrap. This can be an input field with Bootstrap. You just style it the way you want. The same way buttons, you can have that. This one that will be changing, Bootstrap can give you something similar to this. It's called tabs. Can give you something like this called tabs. You just tweak it. This one too, tabs. These are tabs. It changes. So everything that you see here is just components that are styled. Then this is a carousel. This is a carousel, but a different kind of carousel. So this is a carousel. This one is a card, definitely a card. So these are cards, but they are stylish cards. So if you know the basics, you can create awesome things. So this is also a tab. It's a tab. This one is text. This one is also a tab too. Is a tab. This one is a card, most definitely a card. And this is a footer. So like I said, let's look at tabs. I think that should be the last thing we'll look at today. Then I would entertain questions. So you have tabs. So we have tabs. So this is it. You click, it changes. Let's see this. Let's see one that has text inside. We want ones that have text inside. Let me see. Okay, so this has text inside. So this is, see, it changes. So it changes. So you can style it the way you want to style it. So you see it changes. Now you see this one that ClickUp has here that comes to the right. So this is similar to what you have here on Bootstrap. So if you want to build something similar here, Yeah, you know, if you are clicking it change, you just make yours bigger and style yours differently. That is basically it. Basically it. Then you use JavaScript for interaction. So if I come here and copy this and I paste it, let me add justify content center, what we added, then let me add it here, center, save, then yeah, let me have this. So you'd see, okay, something else I need to touch is row. So you see the display flex that we'll do with we've looked at lots of times in CSS. Bootstrap gives it to you. So this is it. So it's not showing much because I don't have text, but if I change this to gibberish, let's change this to lorem ipsum, and let's leave this as random text here, and I refresh this. Now you see anyone I click on, oh sorry, I didn't close a div. Okay, so anyone I click on, it changes. So you see, so there is what Bootstrap gives you. So you'd see, I think that's like the last thing I'll touch. So you see the styling of display flex. Bootstrap has a class called dflex. So if I type d-flex, you'd see that it becomes display flex. I don't know if you saw it here. It gives it display flex. If you want it to be block, d block, display block. You want it to be inline block, the same thing, d-inline block. So now because of his display block is not showing the way it should show. So you have this dflex. Dflex can give you that flex property, and then Bootstrap has another property called row. So row is if you see here, it still picks display flex. So the way row works is like sections on your page can be divided into columns and rows. So the same way you have your table where you have your column and you have your row, that is the same way you have column and row on pages. So in this case, this is a row that has 1 column, 2 column, 3 column, 4 column, you get. So these are columns. I think I would this is where layout comes in, but these are, just understand that your page is divided into rows and columns. Okay, so this is a row, this can be a row, then inside this row you notice that it has 2 sections. I think I explained that at some point, where you can have a container that has multiple sections inside. So now this is a row. If I inspect here row, you see it's a row, yeah, because it takes the whole space row. But you see that each of these are column, just like how you have a normal column. Now what is dividing this, the way you should divide it, is this col 3, col 9. How well can I explain this? Okay, so if I want this to have equal space, okay, so this, like I was talking about the selling point of Bootstrap, why Bootstrap became very popular. So if you check Twitter again, you'd see that everything is arranged column, column, column. This is a full row that is divided into 3 columns. This one has a weight, so instead of it to your normal one to make use of display flex, then give it width here, width here, width here, Bootstrap divides it into this is mathematics. It divides it into 12, then you choose the section. I'm looking at how best to really explain this, but see what col 3 does. So col 3 is 1/3. Okay, yeah, 1/3. Col 9 is 1/9. Okay, so if I change this to col 6, as I said, it's equal, so everything must add together to give you 12. So 6 plus 6 12. Now you see that it is equal space here. If I hover here and here, is equal 6 6. That's how it should be, 6 6. Not like that's how it should be. If I make it 3, this will have to be 9. You should add together to give me 12. If it's more than 12, it enter the next line, which is what you see here, this and this. So it's just like Bootstrap divided the way you have your page 100% width. Bootstrap made theirs to be 12. So just like 100% is equal to 12. That's bad explanation. If you want it to be 4, this will become 8. So you can use this, for example, in this section here where I have this card, this media card. What's the time? In section where I have this media card, if I wrap this in a row, div, I have class of row, and then I have a div, and I give it a class of call 3. Okay, so this, and I run this. Now you notice that this takes 3. So you see the width of this, the space it takes is 3. If I make this to be 4, you'd see that this becomes 4. Sorry, you'd see that it takes 4. That's 1/4. So if I put this in 3 places, cause 4 plus 4 plus 4 should give me 12, and Bootstrap is taking 12 for a row is 12. That's how it's calculating. If I have 3 here and I do this, you see here it takes the whole space, 4 4 4, and it's equal. If I want it to just be 2, it's more like a grid system. So this is a grid system. This is the selling point of Twitter. This is the selling point for Bootstrap. So you see that every section it is divided, and is divided well. You don't see anyone popping out. It is divided well. Okay. I'm glad we are getting it. So we have 1 2 3. So if I wanted to make it like equal 6, for example, so say I want it to just be 2 cards in one section, that is 6 6. So I can have this 6 6. Okay, so you see this 6 6, but this is what happens here. So because it's 6 6 on desktop, what of on mobile? On mobile it still becomes 6 6. So this is where responsiveness comes in. So Bootstrap can allow you to target mobile and desktop. So to target mobile, you use LG. So if I do LG 6, you see what happens here. If I change this to LG 6, now you see that on desktop it still retains 6, yeah, but on mobile it's not 6 anymore. It's not 6 anymore. If I push this down here, you'd see that here, you see it here, the media query LG 6, but on mobile it's not going to be. So you just pick your normal spacing that you give it. But you see this one here, it picks the spacing of call 4. So this call 4 is like static. The same way you write your static CSS, it doesn't check for the device you are working with. So it's better you target your devices, so that way you know that it's not affecting anything. So here you see it. So this looks like a pretty cool site that someone made. So something pretty cool, and you can push this to GitHub and you can post it, and you can show someone that you created something like this. So that is just that on Bootstrap. That is that. So as we progress, we'll look at more things we can do with Bootstrap. That's just that on that. So yep. So questions, if you have questions now, let me know please. Okay, none at the moment. I'm glad. How about you, Victoria? Okay, cool. So so there are different ones. There is one called Tailwind, but we'll not touch Tailwind anyways. So okay, so we have this. What else? There are lots of other things Bootstrap can help you do, down to buttons and all of that, all of that, all of that. And there is this particular site we are going to create. Trying to remember. Let me see if I can get the link again. Yeah, and then we'll look at how to use Figma. So this is Figma. Not like how to use Figma, we'll look at how to create designs using Figma. So that's bad English. We'll look at how to check your design. So if you're working with a designer, the designer makes the designs already. So unlike sites I'm giving you to clone, you're working in an organization, you have designs. So if the designer already has design, so you're working with what the person has already designed. That's why I said we should not clone, because if you have a design as an image, cloning is not going to help you, because you cannot clone anything. You're coding from scratch. So I am going to show us a simple one. Let's see if I can have a simple design to show us. Okay, let's look at this. I worked on this design last month. And I replicated the design here. Let's wait for it to load. It's taking time. Let's wait for it to load. So this is what I worked on anyways, but not this is WordPress. This is not what I worked on. So I worked on this section. Yeah. So hold on. So this is what I worked on here. So this is just a missing persons site that I worked on recently. So these are people who are missing. Wow. Okay, so I worked on this. Now the design is this design that you see here, and I made sure to replicate exactly it using Bootstrap. So this section you see here, even down to this changing and this changing here, this is the section here. And someone's mic is on. So even down to this. So this is the reason why it's not good to always clone. Learn how to code from scratch. So this is using Figma, and I was able to replicate this design here. Here it looks similar. So you have here and that and that. So that's that. Even down to creating modal boxes like this view. This is a modal box using Bootstrap. Everything I did here is Bootstrap. Submit a report here. Social media, this is Bootstrap. Everything you see here is Bootstrap. So that's the cool things we can do with Bootstrap, and that is going to be that. Okay, the link I was talking about, let me quickly check for the link. Hold on. colorlib.com / yeah, we're going to be creating this. colorlib.com / preview # stories. Let's see if this is still up. Okay, this is a very lovely site, a very lovely site that you can build with Bootstrap or build from scratch, however way you please. But this, we are going to be recreating this site, everything here. I'm going to be doing this. I'll just touch some parts on Friday, then the assignment will be to recreate the whole site by next week. Whew. So like I said, we are coming to the end, so we need to double up efforts. We have lots of things to do and things to cover, and we still have our final projects to do. So those in the UI UX track are going to create the design that you are going to work on. So if you create the project, you create it well, as you should create it, you're going to be certified. So your certification is based on how many, on the assignments you've done, how well you've done your assignment. It's based on grading anyways. Then articles, yeah, you need to know how to write technical articles as a tech person. It's a must. Then your project. So how well you do your project, how well you submit your assignments on time. Majorly your project anyways. If you don't do your project, you won't get certified. So you do your project, you host it online using GitHub, and that is that, you get certified. Okay, so that is going to be all for today. I'm guessing we don't have any questions, yeah? Okay, cool. Okay, no problem. So thank you to everyone for joining, even though we are not much, but for those of you that joined, I really appreciate. Hope we have more joining on Friday. I think this whole break we took has affected lots of us. Some of us are not even joining like before. So so thank you for joining today's class. Do have a lovely day ahead of you till Friday, when we are going to have another class. So I'll make sure to send the video across so you watch, and yeah. So take care. Thank you, Shaitan. Rest well. Bye.